Okay, let's get back to brass tacks and hard stuff here. Enough with the human nature stories, and I'm going to get back to reality. Let's talk about chemtrails. I know a lot of you out there and a lot of people have said poo-poo to chemtrails. Chemtrails are bull. It's just a lot of brouhaha. But let us find a story and read it that I heard just yesterday. The president's new science advisor said Wednesday that global warming is so dire the Obama administration is discussing radical technologies to cool Earth's air. John Holdren told the Associated Press in the first interview since being confirmed last month that the idea for geoengineering the climate is being discussed. One such extreme option includes shooting pollution particles into the upper atmosphere to reflect the sun's rays. Let me repeat that. One such extreme option includes shooting pollution particles into the upper atmosphere to reflect the sun's rays. Holdren said such an experimental measure would only be used as a last resort. Really? It's got to be looked at, he said. We don't have the luxury of taking any approach off the table, he said. Holdren outlined several tipping points involving a global warming that could be fast approaching. How fast? Once such milestones are reached, such as complete loss of summer sea ice in the Arctic, it increases chances of really intolerable consequences. Those are quotes, he said. Twice in a half-hour interview, Holdren compared global warming to being in a car with bad brakes driving toward a cliff in the fog. Interesting analogy. At first, Holdren characterized the potential need to be technologically tinker with the climate as just his personal view. Really. Again, really. However, he went on to say, he has raised it in administration discussions. Holdren, a 65-year-old physicist, is far from alone in taking geoengineering more seriously. The National Academy of Science is making climate tinkering the subject of its first workshop in its new multidiscipline Climate Challenges program. The British Parliament has also discussed the idea. Last week, Princeton scientist Robert Socolow told the National Academy that geoengineering should be an available option in case climate worsens dramatically. But Holdren noted that shooting particles into the air, making an artificial volcano, as one Nobel laureate has suggested, could have grave side effects and would not completely solve all the problems from soaring greenhouse gas emissions. So such actions could not be taken lightly, he said. Still, we might get desperate enough to want to use it. I'm going to stop here and get on with my perspective. First of all, for years they have told us we're crazy. For years they have told people you're silly. It's always been this way. The contrails that you're seeing have always looked like this. Well, I say bullshit. I am one of those people that has looked at the sky over and over again since childhood, and I know what contrails look like. I've looked at them from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Coast and to the Smoky Mountains to Oklahoma, Colorado, you name it, New Mexico, Arizona. I have looked in the skies for years, and I can tell you that what we're looking at is not the same thing we've been seeing. Now, I also heard at one point that one of the reasons they were doing this, that chemtrails were being applied into the atmosphere, was to cool the Earth. This was something I heard through the grapevine, through the conspiracy network. Here, all of a sudden, we have the Obama administration implying that we may use this technology, when in fact, ladies and gentlemen, we have been using this technology for more than 20 years, at least. Now, why should we trust an administration that instead of outright admitting the truth would try to ease us into the implications behind what has been done already? This is what's happening. Again, ladies and gentlemen, for all the glory that we have seen, for all the wonderful changes that this man may bring us, and I honestly believe he is a sincere individual, although he is beginning to look like a New World Order buff, to me anyway, and to a few others I know, perhaps the wool has been pulled over our eyes, and perhaps what we're seeing is the beginning of something entirely different in our country. The kid gloves are off, the velvet chains are on. We have a lot to worry about. We don't need to be putting stuff in the atmosphere because we already have volcanoes erupting. Redoubt, not to mention a few others that have already erupted in the last 5 years. We don't need to be putting more particles in the atmosphere because I guarantee these particles are being emitted. What do you do? What would you do? I am here to tell you that we are facing another situation, but a much worse one. At least with Bush, you knew where you stood. You knew he was an asshole. You knew he was arrogant. You knew he was up to no good. It was obvious. In this situation, what do we have? We have a appearingly sincere, excellent orator. One with a great ability to communicate to people and to bring forth what appears to be honesty. Well, now today I heard the president comment that he sees light at the end of the tunnel. Well, personally, I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I hate the economy right now. I don't like talking about it. I don't like the fact that they're always talking about it because it's driving people crazy, literally. They're going insane. But I will say this. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. The economic problem is very serious. And for those of you who have nothing, you have nothing to lose. For those of you who have a lot, hold on to your girds, man. Gird your grid for a big one because you're going to lose everything and learn what it means to have nothing. Perhaps we may want to rethink our situation. I know people who, regardless of how much we're talking about, I propose to the Americans right now, not anyone else. Please listen if you're from somewhere else. But Americans, this is the time for a tax revolt. You, America, should no longer give money to the IRS if all they're going to do is give our hard-earned taxes to banks and corporations that are going to abuse it and lose it and use it for other purposes in other parts of the world. Why should I give any money that I have earned to the federal government so they can just give it away? Now, I ask you, where is the logic in this? Why should I, who works harder than I should have to, just to have what I want and have what I need for my children and my family, give them a penny, one single penny, so that they can squander it on billionaire corporations, billion-dollar corporations, and watch it get pissed away for something they call the economic structure that needs to be saved? What about my economic structure? What about yours? What about feeding your family? What about paying your mortgages and paying your bills and paying for the outrageous high-priced gasoline just to get to work? It's time for a tax revolt. No longer give them a penny. Refuse. Write it on your W-2s or whatever you mail in, whatever form you're mailing in. If they say that you owe them money, you simply say politely, I'm sorry, but I will not give you another penny until you recoup the billions of dollars of my hard-earned tax money from people who do not deserve it. And until you stop giving my money away to people who do not deserve it, I refuse to give you another penny. What would happen if millions of people did that all at the same time? What do you think? Right now's the time. I know many people have mailed in their forms, but it's not too late. It's not too late, because when they return and say, you owe me money, send me the check, don't. Write a letter. Tell them, no, I'm sorry. You don't get it. You don't get the penny. You don't get it. I don't owe you anything. You owe me, in fact, $80 billion. You owe us, the United States people, $300 billion. And then add it all up and say, here's the bill. And until you pay me what I am owed out of the billions of dollars you've given away, you get nothing.